Hello, it's your boy Shun, joined by Steve OG, man to my left, and somehow also to my right. Join us as we open the Extreme Wrestling Archive, ECW's Super Summer Sizzler Spectacular. So, what do we do?
Yeah, here we go for the 100th time. Hand grenade pins in every line. Throw them up and let something shine. Going out of my fucking mind. Filthy mouth, no excuse. Find a new place to hang this noose. String me up from atop these roofs. Line it tight so I won't get loose. Truth is you can stop and stare. Run myself out and no one cares. Dug the trench out, lay down there with a shovel up out of reach somewhere. Yeah, someone pour it in. Make it a dirt dance floor again. Say your prayers and stop it out when they bring that chorus in. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to throw it away. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to throw it away. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to throw it away. Just to throw it away. Just to throw it away. I bleed it out.
Alright, so this is your host, Shun, talking. Been watching pro wrestling on and off since about the age of 4 or 5, so about 28 years. I was first exposed to ECW by tape trading.
Hello wrestling fans out there, this is Rob Feinstein. I hope you enjoyed this TWA card. This is one of Joe Goodhart's very last cards, but if you're wondering, I have the original copy of this. I bought it, and this is a first generation copy, so if you got this on a trade and you want the original to this, you can contact me at Rob Feinstein, 865 Green Ridge Circle, Langhorne, PA, 19053, area code 215-752-4279. I have all of Joe Goodhart's tapes.
Remember my VCR with 2 decks?
Your double deck VCR.
That served a purpose. So I was kind of a big deal on the tape trading.
It was NASA technology.
It was back in the 90s. But yeah, that's how we got, because we only got ECW. It was on at 2 a.m. on Friday nights on Prime Sports. Remember Prime Sports?
Wow.
That was before Fox Sports.
My first interaction with ECW was basically the commercials or the pay-per-views that I couldn't afford when I was a teenager. And I really didn't get to see ECW until you had them on VHS tape, and then when I was in college, they started to show up on the internet.
Yeah. By the time we got to college, ECW had folded.
It had blossomed, folded, become a parlor trick part of the WWE, and then never to be heard from again.
Yeah. So until they did the one night stands in 2005, 2006, and then restarted that shit version on WWE, which was just terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't a real. It did not exemplify what ECW was in the mid and late 90s. It was incredible.
ECW kind of laid the pathway for which WWE took in the 2000s.
Right. It really kind of took it from the kind of cartoon spoof 80s wrestling into kind of what it created and made the Attitude Era have to happen, which is really what took wrestling from something on Saturday mornings into this billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
And now it's gone and no one remembers it.
And now it's like a PG. I don't think it would still be around today.
No,
even if it didn't fold in 2001, I think around 2008 or 9, it started to go back to the PG.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got, like you mentioned, how ECW was on at 2 a.m. on Prime TV, or you had to tape trade.
Yeah.
Like, if they were able to do some of the stuff that they did because it wasn't on prime time. Your mom and dad didn't know what you were watching. It wasn't readily available to 10-year-olds on the internet. And in today's day and age, they would get a lot of flack from groups against violence on TV or some of the risque stuff that they did. They wouldn't be able to do because too many people would be able to see it. That's kind of the thing about an industry like this is that they wanted to get popular and do well, and by getting popular and doing well, that was kind of their downfall. It's almost like a punk band. You know what I mean?
Once they sell out.
Once they sell out, no one wants to listen to them.
Exactly. it's kind of like a forbidden
right
fruit.
Exactly. That
nobody
you know,
like it's kind of like your like hidden little dark fantasy.
right.
You
know, because you would watch the stuff on the WWF or the WWE on prime time, and then this was like the dark, distorted.
This was
Marilyn Manson version of what everybody else was watching.
Well, at this time in the WWF, it would have been like the New Generation,
right,
with all the cartoon characters like running the show,
neon colors and spandex tights, and yeah.
Why don't you give me a little background on you?
Yeah, Steve OG here. Like I said, when I was a kid, I really didn't watch wrestling. It wasn't until probably I was like 14 or 15, right kind of when the Attitude Era was kind of taken off, that I kind of started watching, because it was more. It wasn't like a cartoon. I didn't feel like I was watching something fake and ridiculous. You know, and that kind of got me into watching wrestling. And then when you know, looking back now and watching some of this ECW archive footage, like you just see how that influenced what was on primetime TV.
When word got out.
When seriously, when word got out, you know, why did Vince McMahon change his model? Because there were people bootlegging video cassettes out of their trunk to watch this rinky-dink group of wrestlers in a gym in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. You didn't have that before. But yeah, I mean, now I follow wrestling kind of loosely. You know, I kind of catch up on who's the hot act these days or whatever. But you know, I kind of miss and long for the late '90s, early aughts, when it was kind of I hate to use the word raw, but but yeah, it was more cutting edge and more.
Well, back then you could like everything wasn't a repeat of it. Like it was still new and fresh. The ideas that they were coming out
exactly
with.
Yeah.
Now it's all just rewatch stuff from back then, which they try
to. The names change, but the plot lines are the same, and you know, even some of the matches are the same. Like, you know, you look at some of these matches, they were doing some crazy stuff that had never been done before, never even thought of before. And that's why people tuned into ECW, because they were going to do something
you never knew
that you had never seen before. Something that was going to appall you. Something that was going to make you pee your pants. Something that was going to make you go, "Oh God, am I allowed to watch this?"
Morbid curiosity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, to be clear, I currently do not watch wrestling. Well, I don't watch current wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
So and I actually don't even own cable.
It's crazy to me.
But, by the way, you see, your idea is mainstream now, a la carte television.
Oh, yeah. I invented that 15 years ago.
First of all, did you get an alliteration boner?
Always.
All right, so this took place June 19th, 1993. Show starts off, we're welcomed in by Todd Gordon and Jay Sully. He's the guy at the cummerbund.
Beautiful cummerbund, yes.
It's just funny looking at I don't know if those were even fans behind them.
They were just homeless people in Philadelphia.
I don't know if it's just like people, because Todd Gordon actually owns a store right around the corner.
Okay.
He owns a jewelry like pawn shop. It's pretty much the commercial. Like if you watch the ECW television, it's his commercial, every commercial break for Carver W. Reed.
Bail bonds and jewelry.
Yeah, correct. Bounty hunters. I don't know what the deal is with the fashion in '93. Did we dress like? Did we wear fanny packs?
I'm not gonna lie. I did own a fanny pack. Don't know if I ever wore it, but did have it.
All right. So match 1 was Jimmy Snuka versus JT Smith.
This was actually the first Snuka match of the night.
Correct. Yeah. It's Jay Sully, Paulie E on commentary. Paulie is usually the manager of Snuka, but I don't think they had anyone like to take color commentary, and Jay Sully sucks. So they don't want him up there by himself. So I think that's why Paulie was on commentary.
He wore a couple of hats back in those days.
Paulie wasn't really doing that. He just was working the mic skills with the dudes. He didn't have any like booking match influence or anything. He pretty much just brought in as Eddie Gilbert's friend, and he was helping people with their stick work, if you will.
Which is moving forward, that was what would make ECW ECW.
Correct, yeah. Unfortunately, they were an independent promotion, so they really didn't have TV, so there was actually really no reason to do, like, promos. And Jimmy Snuka, everyone knows, is a big staple of 1980s wrestling. Kind of past his prime here in the early 90s. He is known for his Superfly splash, most notably off the cage.
Coming off the cage, coming off the top rope.
At MSG against Don Morocco, and that was in October of '83, so that was 10 years ago.
And that was the match that made actually got Mick Foley to want to.
Actually, it was the Sandman, Mick Foley, Tom Dreamer, and Bubba Ray Dudley, all who would be in ECW eventually. They were all in attendance at that match. Mick Foley is more notably
kind of a confluence of.
Yeah, they said this was like their major.
Inspiration.
Inspiration that would lead them into pursuing professional wrestling. So. But recently, Jimmy Snuka really hasn't been noted for his wrestling.
That murderer! You got away with murder, you murdering, lying waste of life!
They actually, in 2015, he was arrested for the 1983 murder of his road girlfriend, road wife, who gave him road head, Nancy Argentino, which has just been open for the past 30-some years. Through litigation and everything, Snuka eventually was deemed incompetent in January of this year, 2017, due to progressive dementia. He is 73, and terminal stomach cancer, which they gave him about 6 months to live. He eventually died last month, January 15th, 2017. So, fortunately, he's more noted for that as opposed to his wrestling. I guess if you kill someone, apparently he was a major cokehead, and you get very violent on coke.
And that was part of the wrestling culture in the 80s. Like they partied all night, wrestled beforehand, and they were just kind of road warriors. It's not like it is today where they're doing interviews and Facebook Live and doing charitable events, and everybody knows what they're doing all the time.
JT Smith, he began his wrestling career in Joel Goodhart's Tri-State Wrestling Alliance or Association, which was the precursor to ECW. It's pretty much what Todd Gordon picked up the pieces of TWA and formed ECW. He attended the wrestling school that was the Tri-State Wrestling School, Ringmasters. Like a lot of the other TWA wrestlers, he was brought in as like a leftover. Todd Gordon liked him. He was apparently very, very trustful. He had some great natural wrestling ability. His skills were pretty good in the ring. And he was a hometown boy from Philly. So, just like the Fresh Prince. So, actually, even Todd Gordon ended up giving him a job in his pawn shop. He worked at a jewelry store. But yeah, like you were saying earlier, this match was kind of what Todd Gordon's vision was for ECW when it first started. The established veteran, Jimmy Snuka, taking on the local homegrown.
Right, you bring the name in that maybe doesn't draw the crowd to the big arenas anymore, but enough people are nostalgic enough to come watch them and then get exposure to not only your product, but these new wrestlers they've never heard of.
Exactly.
And you kind of see that throughout the bill in these early ECWs.
The name will get the butts in the seat, right? To see the other people.
Plus, those young guys are learning a lot about how to move in the ring from these old vets.
Yeah, Jimmy Snuka was pretty professional when he was at
in the ring.
In the ring, yeah. So he was able to work with the new guys, put them over, do whatever he needed to do. Honestly, I don't really know why Snuka was scheduled to wrestle 2 matches. I looked through all the episodes prior. There was nothing in it. But I do know, I can tell you that he's not technically the first ECW TV champion. The first champion was Johnny Hotbody, who is later on the card. He won it back in early 1992. Lost it to Glenn Osborne. He kind of has like almost another Road Warrior gimmick. Face paint.
Seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah. Reproduced, regurgitated product. And then he won it in late 1992 and Apparently, I think they just vacated the title. They never really said why. I assume it was because they were getting on television, so they wanted to start fresh with a new champion, technically crown the first TV champion, and they do refer to him as the first TV champion.
And a name people would recognize.
Yes. So they wanted something to get the TV show off the ground, get the TV show going, so they decided to hold a TV title tournament, which they did seedings 1 through 8. The TV title tournament was 8 total wrestlers. So the first match was Wildman Salbaloma, who was a jobber in WWF 80s, but he was like a clean-shaven baby face, and now he's a hairy gorilla in a gladiator outfit. Looks like Marvin the Martian. He faced Tommy Cairo. Cairo won this match by countout. After Johnny Hotbody interfered, he was trying to hit Cairo, but it backfired, and he took out Sal. So that was match 1. Match 2 was Snuka versus Larry Winters. Snuka won this after a supervised splash and Eddie Gilbert interference. Not much to that one. Third match was Johnny Hotbody versus Glenn Osborne. Osborne won after a splash from the top rope after Tommy Cairo interfered. So that's a face interference, which is unusual.
Very unusual.
So, the fourth match and final match of the first round was JT Smith versus Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. Eddie Gilbert won by pinfall after he used a foreign object. This was all over the course of a couple weeks of television as well. First match, round 2, was...
Give him a nice little build-up.
Correct. Although it did take place on one day in real life. Back when TV
a little
taping,
bit of tape delay.
Yeah.
Right?
Back when they would tape massive amounts of shows at once. They would run about one card every month or 2 months, but do 2 months worth of TV taping. So the first match, second round, was Jimmy Snuka versus Tommy Cairo. Snuka wins after interference from Eddie Gilbert, Johnny Hotbody, and used a foreign object. So all types of shenanigans in that one. Second match of the second round was Glenn Osborne versus Eddie Gilbert. Gilbert actually originally won with the use of a foreign object, but the decision was reversed when Jay Sully made the ref aware to check the tights. So the ref went into his panties and not the foreign
just
object.
like your mom used to say, always check your tights.
TV tournament finals. This is actually the third episode with Snuka versus Glenn Osborne, and Snuka ended up winning after a supervised splash after Eddie Gilbert interferes. So Snuka was the inaugural quote-unquote champion, although he really wasn't.
Going into the Sizzler.
Correct. But that's why we have this match. I don't understand the dynamic of why there was 2 matches. Maybe just Snuka putting over 2 people.
It could be just as easy as they just didn't have enough people on the roster, too.
Alright, so one thing I did notice about the TV title tournament, not one match ended clean. Every single one had interference.
Yeah.
Which that's like spillover from the 80s because no one ever wanted to lose. A little ridiculous. First thing I noticed in this match was the flimsy title falls off of Snuka when he gets into the ring.
The piece of scotch tape holding it up. Yeah.
He gets pissed and just chucks it at the ref, which is great. Like I said, Paulie was on commentary and that was Snuka, so he does a really good job. I don't know if you remember or not, but he was really putting over Snuka, making Sully look better. The dude's a fucking clown. He absolutely is terrible and way too over the top for the dumbest shit. Thank God Paulie was there. So for the most part, Snuka works over JT's knee. Eventually he hits a pretty nice pile driver, then the supervised splash for the 3 count. Successful title defense. Number 1.
The thing that I noticed from this match is that it moves slow, and you can tell one of 2 things was either happening. One is they were saving Snuka, who was up in age, to be able to be in 2 matches in one night, or he was just old. You know what I mean? And couldn't do some of the stuff he used to be able to do in the ring.
Yeah, maybe he needed a bump or 2.
Exactly. The other thing too is, when you're dealing with young and untested guys in the ring too, you're restricted into some of the more high risk stuff that you can do. You know what I mean? So again, I think that this match kind of exemplifies what ECW was this time. It was new people learning the craft, old guys showing the way, but also kind of their last ditch effort in business. Like if you could sum up the ECW in 1993, like this match kind of like is it.
Old guys versus that.
Right.
Old tired guys versus new guys who really didn't know what they were doing.
Exactly. It's like your entry-level employee versus the guy who's about to retire.
Putting him out to pasture.
Yeah.
Would you say this is a passing of the torch?
No.
I take that question back because he didn't win.
Right.
He didn't pass any torch.
No, I think this type of match is more, again, it was more for build-up for the fans to.
It is the first match.
You're right, yeah.
All right, match 2. Larry Winters versus Tony Hitman Stetson. This was a first blood match.
Ah, yes.
All right, so first off, Tony Stetson is the first one out. He's another leftover from TWA. He is best known for his feuds with Johnny Hotbody. They had a really nice hardcore style going there, stuff that fans hadn't seen. The matches they had for Joel Goodhart and TWA were like they had some taped fist matches, barbed wire matches, which was just not seen in the United States. This was a thing in Japan. Because actually the WWF and the WCW were hurting at the moment, and wrestling was most popular in Japan at the time. This was something the fans hadn't seen. They created a very violent and bloody feud.
Right, it'd be like watching a snuff film today.
Correct. Daisy's Destruction. Never seen that. It's on the deep web.
No, sorry.
Me?
I must not have the same internet that you have.
Dude, you never been on the deep web?
I stay in the shallows.
Alright. So, Larry Winters, another TWA leftover. He was actually brought in as the booker and head trainer.
Okay.
For Todd Gordon when they first started it. According to Todd Gordon, he was stripped of his booking duties after the first night, after the first card, because he booked a spot where it was him and Johnny Hotbody versus DC Drake, which was another TWA leftover. I don't think he actually comes up in ECW, and JT Smith. And what they wanted to do was paint JT Smith white. Which Todd Gordon is like, this is ridiculous. Now he's like, so he ended up making a compromise. He's like, listen, if you paint his partner black, he's like, then it won't seem so offensive. So they go to do this spot, and they actually, quote unquote, forgot the black paint. So they only had the white paint. So they painted JT Smith white and didn't paint the other DC Drake at all. So it came off as extremely racist. Todd Gordon was pissed, and he didn't fire Larry Winters, but he didn't let him book any more matches. Again. So that's a pretty funny backstory. All right, the story behind this match is Winters and Stetson came into ECW. They were a tag team. They were actually the number one contenders for the Super Destroyers, who had been champions since the belts were created. They were a pretty solid tag team, going so far as to end the 2-year reign of the Super Destroyers. However, the reign was short-lived, as they lost it the very next day to the Suicide Blondes, who we'll go into a little bit later. So they both were entered into a 16-man battle royal for the PA State Championship, or Pennsylvania State Championship, where Winters accidentally eliminated Stetson. I think he did act, because he was trying to eliminate the Suicide Blondes, and he eliminated Stetson by mistake. As soon as he was eliminated, Stetson became very infuriated to the point that he struck Larry Winters.
Hit him.
Correct. I think it was just one hit, though. But if you go back and look, it was actually very funny because eventually Larry Winters would be the last one with Tommy Cairo. Larry Winters was the last one eliminated. Tony Stetson goes over to apologize, kind of helps him up, like starts helping him into the back, and as I walk into the back, he just shoves him into the ring post. It's actually pretty funny. So, as you could tell, they kind of booked a partner versus partner tag team breakup, kind of solidify the hatred. They made it a first blood match. So that's the story behind that match. First thing I noticed when Stetson comes out, he's got his hands behind his back, like he's handcuffed. I think that's so he doesn't like slap hands with any of the fans because he's a face for most of the time. But he looks kind of ridiculous. So as soon as Larry Winters comes out, they go straight into a brawl, which is cool for a first blood match.
Yeah,
it
was a very physical match.
I think it's funny when you have a hated brawl and they start with like a lockup.
Right.
Yeah. Stupid stuff like that. So it's a little ridiculous. So straight to brawling, fists. Stetson, remember, he exposes the turnbuckle, which of course...
Right from the get-go. Which
backfire.
like, I'm confident backfires 70% of the time.
70? I feel like it would be more than that.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So I think 70% of the time, it's 100% of the time to fail.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty physical brawl. Not a lot of holds, which I appreciate. Just straight up first blood brawling. Yeah. Stetson eventually wins with a chain fist, which the Rockin' Rebel came out, interfered the ref, and I believe this would be a no DQ match, so I don't know why you have to have like a ref distraction to use a foreign object.
In a match where you're probably going to use a foreign object.
Anyway, so chain fist punch for the win. Opens up Larry Winters, which actually I didn't
there was so little blood that you couldn't even see it on the green VHS.
Yeah.
You just had to take the announcer's
Yeah, we
word
just
for
took
it.
the ref's word for it that there is blood. I think the ref took Larry Winters' word for it. He said, "I'm bleeding." The ref's like, "Okay." Internally, yeah. It's bleeding internally.
I bit my tongue.
So post-match, beat down by the heels, which Larry Winters eventually overcomes and clears the ring. What are your thoughts on that?
This match was definitely different than the first match. Like you said, it was a little bit more physical than the first match. Tempo was a little bit faster to begin with. I enjoyed the match, but sometimes a match just goes on a little bit too long. And I would say probably at the 80% mark of this match, I was like, okay, this needs to just end. They lost me as a fan.
You can only do so much brawling.
Exactly. Yeah.
Especially if you don't go all over the building. But with the limited camera work, I don't think...
Limited camera work and the parochial school gym.
There's only so much territory to
There's only so many feet you can do, yeah. But overall, it was a very physical match. And I enjoyed that.
Match 3 was the cat fight humiliation match.
Yeah.
Like that reaction.
Yeah. It like the only purpose of this match is to just get the fans going nuts and to really, this is the extreme part of ECW.
In 93, though.
In 93, yeah. Okay, we need an excuse to just have just naked tits on screen. Let's have a bra and panties match.
This was actually not even supposed to be a bra and panty match. Todd Gordon wanted somebody to get naked in this. So, this is Miss Peaches versus Terrible Tigra. Peaches is a.k.a. Lori Fullington, the Sandman's wife. She began as a valet on the TV shows. Not the Sandman, just a generic valet. Where she ended up eventually accompanying him to the ring and planted a big kiss on him, telling everyone how cute he was and how big his muscles are. The only thing big on him is his beer gut. Tigra, she also started as a valet, but she started coming to the ring with the heels. Rockin' Rebel, eventually. And then she eventually interjected herself into his matches. So, Rockin' Rebel versus Sandman was kind of a hot feud at the time. Tigra interjected herself into that match, clawing at the Sandman's eyes. Peaches came in to the rescue, and the two would go back and forth, pretty much tearing each other's clothes off. Yada, yada, yada.
We may as well end it with a match.
Yeah. So, pretty much just valets coming in to save their men is the premise to this match. So, as I was saying, Todd Gordon really wanted someone to get naked. I did find out later that Tigra was actually a stripper that he found at the Coconut Cabaret. Or something like that, I don't know. Whatever. Which was a strip club, which they used to run shows at. She had no problem getting naked or whatever until the day of the show, I guess. Peaches was like, I'm not getting naked, because there's children in the audience. And then I guess Tigra was like, yeah, I'm not getting naked either or whatever. So Todd Gordon was pissed. He's like, I promoted this match for nudity pretty much. Right. So he's like pissed. He's like, somebody's going to get naked. And apparently...
So somebody had to step up.
Yeah, and this girl, whose name is Angel, comes up and just says, I'll do it. So apparently she was 19 at the time. So. real young, huge tits. Both ladies come to the ring. They're wearing spandex, staple of the 90s.
Staple of the 90s.
And like easily tear away fucking 70s sweatshirts.
Yeah, they're just ripping off. Just
like flash
dance, shoulder t-shirts.
Let's go to the mall.
Yeah.
Robin Sparkles.
Yeah.
Wear
spandex jean shorts.
Yeah. First thing I noticed in this match was the dot matrix sign in the audience. This is so fun with the perforated edges.
Right, yeah.
Those are key, dude. So, this match I don't think had a single wrestling move.
No,
it was just
like watching two women go at it in your high school hallways.
Yeah. It was like watching two cats
just scratch and claw at each other, and then clothing coming off.
There's a lot of running away.
Yeah,
because I don't think they really knew anything.
It was your prototypical filler match with a gimmick.
Peaches was the first to lose her shirt, then Tigra, and then finally Tigra does try to run away, and that's when we run into the unknown or mystery woman.
Comes to block her exit out of the arena.
Correct. She sends Tigra back into the ring, where Peaches proceeds to rip off all of her overclothes, leaving her in her broad panties. Post-match, Rebel and Stetson hit the ring
and
as...
then come out.
Yeah. They proceed to rip off this unknown woman's clothes.
Right.
Well, actually, just her top, exposing her big, bountiful breasts.
And again, like, that's the extreme part of extreme wrestling.
I think, like...
in the early 90s, you weren't seeing that on tape delay Saturday morning WWE, and truthfully, like, you would never see that today. Like, it's derogatory, disrespectful to women. Like, it's a little, not even a little bit. It's basically sexual assault.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, this is borderline rape.
Right? Yeah, this is, they'd be the firemen and the police would be shutting the arena down. People would be going to jail.
But like as I was saying, this was unknown woman. Her name was Angel Amorosa. She stepped up and said, "I'll get naked for you, Todd." Eventually, Sandman and Larry Winters hit the ring, cover her up. It's funny, Jay Sully's like,
What a disgusting display!
I'm sorry, there was nothing disgusting about it. And Paul Yee was just so awesome on commentary, continually being like, "Sully, will you please get your hand off my knee?" And then as soon as Sandman and Winters cover up Angel, or the unknown woman, Paulie was like, "The Sandman and Winters proving yet again that chivalry is dead." It's just magic. Oh, good stuff.
And if you think about it, this is the type of match that would go on to be in WWE years later.
Even the nudity. They even did it.
Right.
They did the nudity.
As a filler gimmick match, and added a lot of that attitude of the Attitude Era. These guys did it years before. 5 years
and years prior. From this spot, they actually got in a lot of trouble with the Gaming Commission, I guess, of Pennsylvania. The public nudity is not a good thing. For those of you that don't know, Pennsylvania is a very conservative state. We just recently were able to buy beer on Sundays. Not even in gas stations yet. I guess Todd Gordon had to beg and plead and say he had no idea that wasn't supposed to happen, which is bullshit. He claimed it was a wardrobe malfunction.
Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl?
Yeah, correct. So, but it wasn't. It was a blatant display. Like, Todd promoted it, he wanted it done, and it was done. And how can you go wrong with tips? Alright. So, match 4. It's Jimmy Snuka's second title defense.
He's back.
Yes. He had a little bit of rest time there. He could do copious amounts of bumps.
Sure he did.
And by bumps, I mean cock.
Not annoying.
He's against Iron Man Tommy Cairo. Tommy Cairo is a former bodybuilder turned pro wrestler. He did a little bit of wrestling in Japan prior to this. Not much other background on him. He is the current PA state champion, or Pennsylvania state champion. He won the 16-man battle royal that I mentioned earlier, which was on May 14th. just the previous month.
Mm-hmm.
I guess on to the match. Cairo, he comes into the ring. He's got his belt, which I like, even though it's not on the line. I feel like if I had a belt, I'd like wear it to bed and stuff. Which I think actually was like a gimmick Jericho did in WCW.
Yeah,
like he was wearing it everywhere. Thing I noticed this time is Snuka comes to the ring with the belt over his shoulder, not Velcroed or
he was
taped.
He was out of Scotch tape
around his waist. Paul E is at ringside, so we get a new color commentator, and it's Terry Funk, the living legend, who actually has a match later in the night. A lot of time wasting to start. This almost goes back to like the first match. Not a lot of
right. You have a tired, washed up guy, so they had to find some ring work to fill the time allotment.
Yeah, and they brought Paul E down, but he really didn't do much to help do that. But
yeah, you thought that from the beginning he was going to do more to do some stuff, but then he didn't.
But actually, Cairo, I really like Cairo in this match. He had a nice Northern Lights style suplex. It wasn't 100% Northern Lights, and then a spinning heel kick, which is a pretty big dude, pretty thick dude. I don't think he's that tall, but looked pretty nice. And then did a nice drop kick, a snap suplex. Kind of was like all Cairo.
Most match.
I don't think Snuka had a couple of illegal throat hits, but that was about it. But eventually, Paul E trips up Cairo. Snuka pins with his feet on the rope. Cairo didn't even attempt to kick out, so he was pretty much KO'd by a trick. But I really liked Cairo. Like I said in this match, he looked really good. So, although he's, like, his wrestling style is good, he's an ugly dude, he's toothless, his body looks good.
Yeah,
I mean that in a platonic way.
Like, so far through the card, like, he was the most technically sound wrestler that we've seen.
Which is always a nice break. I mean, I do like the hardcore brawling and everything, but it's always nice to have at least, like, a guy
nice
who
can hit something, like, wow, I respect that. Like, that's there's a degree of difficulty there. You gotta have some athletic ability to do that.
That makes 2 successful title defenses for Jimmy Snuka. Right. Anything else?
Nope.
Alright, match 5 is a Philly street fight. It's Rock and Rebel versus the Sandman. Come as you are, and they came as they were.
This is like before the Sandman was the Sandman.
This was Beach Bum or Surfer Guy.
He was just a sandy man.
Rock and Rebel. He was brought over from TWA, like most of the guys here. He was actually the very first heavyweight champion over there.
Okay.
So he's got some street cred. He trained under the Rock and Roll Express. Hence the name, the Rock and Rebel. That's all I got on him, really. Just coming over after TWA. The Sandman, he started in the TWA also. He was trained at their wrestling school. He lives in Philly, right around the corner. So he was managed by his real-life wife, Peaches. He was originally supposed to be the first ECW champion. I guess he was going around telling everyone he's like going to be the first ECW champion. So word got back to Todd Gordon. He pretty much nixed that and gave the spot to Johnny Hotbody. So Johnny Hotbody was the first champion. Although the Sandman did eventually win the belt, although he won it from Don Morocco in November 16th, 1992, but lost it back to him in April of this year. And by this year, I mean 1993. So at this time, he is not the champion. This match is kind of a play on the catfight match, or not a play, but the catfight match kind of stems
led
from
into this one.
The Sandman, he was the ECW champ, like I said, a former champ. Rock and Rebel was the #1 contender for most of the TV tapings. The two would brawl back and forth, and Rebel actually would even attack Peaches, so you can see the women violence really heavy here in ECW in the early 90s. So it wasn't like the 40s when you could slap dames around. So it was a little... So this was like a little like, ooh, like what's going on here? A little bit of the forbidden fruit that we were talking about earlier. He would interfere in the Sandman's matches, and there was even one awesome spot where he came in and broke the Sandman's surfboard over his head. It was fucking awesome, dude. If that was a legitimate surfboard, that would have killed him.
Right.
Because those things are made of what, fiberglass?
Like, yeah, they're like blocks of wood or something. I don't know what it is.
He hit him with the tree trunk, pretty much. But no, yeah, the surfboard just cracked in half. You could tell it was like styrofoam board. So you definitely could not tread. You wouldn't even be able to tread water on that thing.
Display board from Abercrombie.
Or Pacific Sun. Alright, so this match, Rebel comes out to the ring. He's wearing a shirt that says, "I had peaches" on the front. She was the pits on the back. But he is eating the fruit, too, as he comes out. Yes. Have you ever referred to a woman you banged as the pits?
I don't use that jargon.
So the Sandman, he comes out, even though he's in his traditional... Was he wearing Zubaz? No, he was wearing sweatpants.
Sweatpants or something, yeah.
He comes out to Surfing USA. Which is just funny. He pretty much comes out and just like the first blood match, he just comes out and then bum rushes the Rebel and they start to brawl. I mean, it is a street fight. Sandman does a lot of choking, not even the good kind of choking. He hangs the Rebel by his own shirt.
That's right. Shirt.
Though Rebel comes back, he hits a nice bulldog and swinging neck breaker. They were actually really nice. Funny spot, though. Rebel misses with a chair. Remember, he hits the rope, and then he hits himself in the face. So it was like a Three Stooges spot. The Sandman then unloads on him with the chair. He hits like three just vicious chair shots. Which actually busts the Rebel up, and you can see it even though in the grainy footage. Pretty bloody. Yeah. Eventually, I don't know why, Tony Stetson comes out, interferes. I don't know what Stetson and the Rebel going on. So, Tony Stetson comes in, interferes after a ref bump. Illegal belt shot behind the ref's backs.
That more interference.
Yeah, and then we had an unknown woman, another unknown woman, a second unknown woman come
Security is lacking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they couldn't afford to pay the wrestlers, let alone...
have railings.
So she comes in, hairspray to the face, the Sandman. Rocket Rebel ends up rolling him up for the win. That is 4 different forms of shenanigans to end that match. Right. We had interference, outside interference by one guy, a ref bump, a belt shot,
and
a
female fan.
You'll never guess who that unknown woman is.
I don't know. Who was it?
Sonny. It was.
No way.
Yeah. It was Tammy Lynn Sitch.
Huh.
Pretty crazy.
A young Sonny.
Yeah, she wouldn't be seen for another 5 years in that company, but
that's funny.
Yeah. So apparently, the reason Chris Candido was part of he had left the company at this point. Okay. But he was the current tag team champion with Top Body and Michaels. Eddie Gilbert had brought them in. He brought in Tammy Sitch and Chris Candido. They were kind of dating at the time. I think they were dating at the time. Chris Candido knew he was going to Smoky Mountain Wrestling, which was Jim Cornette's promotion. Right. And Eddie Gilbert really, really wanted to bang Tammy Sitch. So he brought them in after... So he put her on the show in order to bang her, which I believe he did bang her. So good for him.
It worked out for him.
Yeah. Win-win-win situation. Candido had already left, and she had an unnamed spot. She didn't even do anything, but that's crazy that was Sunday. We didn't know that at the time, but I just found that out.
Not noticed that at all.
Any other comments on that?
No, other than you just see a lot of the crazy shenanigans, extreme stuff that you learn to enjoy. You eventually expect out of an ECW match. Yeah. Like it's not going to be just a technically sound ordinary match. Like something crazy is going to happen. 4 crazy things might happen.
This was the first real blood I noticed. The Rock and Roll was busted open pretty good, as opposed to Larry Winters. So match 6 was a special challenge match. This was the one with Dirty Dick Murdoch versus Dark Patriot number 2. So Dick Murdoch, he's kind of world renowned. He was a big star in the 70s and 80s. He was actually even a WWF Tag Team Champion former with Adrian Adonis.
So this is another match where there's a very much big name, washed up guy. Yeah. But this is a match where there's a little bit of an older fan.
Yeah.
Knows this name.
Exactly. Trying to appeal to all audiences. Right. This was probably the kind of guy that those guys in the beginning of the show that were chanting ECW outside, this is the person they would
They
know.
came to see it, yeah. Fanny Fat came to see this.
Exactly. Yeah, did you notice he had like a rapist, or not even like a child molester starter kit? He had the mustache, the fanny pack, the jean shorts,
And then Astro Man.
and Pokemon cards before they were invented.
He invented Pokemon cards.
Yeah, alright, so Dick Murdoch, he spent a lot of his time in the territory system. This was back before there was any kind of mainstream wrestling. WWF was the first to do it, but that didn't happen until the 80s, till WrestleMania, pretty much. Dick Murdoch, he spent some time in WCW, or Jim Crockett Promotions, as it was known at the time. He was in Memphis. He was in the mid-Atlantic region. Interesting note, though, as I was reading through some of his background, he was apparently a very proud member of the KKK. He even tricked Dusty Rhodes into going to a KKK party with him. He just told him it was a party. He didn't tell him it was like KKK. So a lot of like black wrestlers came out and said that like he was very racist.
We would work with him.
Well, he'd work with him, but he'd be very stiff. Pretty much actually shoot punch him or hit him for real, you know. So eventually, Dick Murdoch, he actually would die a couple years later, 1996, a heart attack at age 49.
This match was not good.
No. Yeah, and then I had also about the Dark Patriot here. Paulie came out and said that the Dark Patriot was not there. And this was a second Dark Patriot number 2.
The sequel.
Which the original Dark Patriot is Doug Gilbert, or Eddie Gilbert's brother. So he brought him in. Paulie says that Dark Patriot 1 was out in Japan touring, so he couldn't make it, so he's got Dark Patriot 2. But from
Darker Patriot.
Yeah, the Darker Patriot. That was all just bullshit. Like, it was actually still just Doug Gilbert. Like, I don't understand that. Like, nobody gets that joke. The only person that gets it is Doug Gilbert.
Right.
And, like, the people that work the show. Like, the fans don't understand it. It doesn't even make any sense. But apparently that's the way the Gilberts were, so that's kind of funny. This, as he's saying, Paulie's talking about the Dark Patriot. Murdoch comes out, grabs Paulie by the lapels, shoves him up against the back. This prompts the Dark Patriot 2 to bum rush him from behind. Terry Funk, he was terrible on commentary this match, putting over Dick Murdoch, saying how good he is or whatever. And at this point, Murdoch was 45, 46 years old. He weighed 300 pounds almost. Not really.
He was just a guy out there.
Yeah, in trunks.
Yeah.
And a track jacket, which he had on for 90% of the match.
Right. It reminded me of like when in like the mid 2000s they like brought the Nature Boy back out to wrestle, and you're just like, come on, man! Like you're ruining.
Hang up.
You're ruining what I know about you.
The legacy.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I feel like this wouldn't be like the fans, if they were fans of him. This was like,
no. The only thing you're watching this match is just to make sure, like, to see if this guy ends up dying, or, like his hip shatters.
Just to check to see if he's okay.
Right. Yeah. And like at the end, you're just like, wow, I can't believe a 90-year-old man did that. Like that's where I was with that match.
Yeah.
As far as like anything technically sound or any like good moves, it was just.
There was one good move, and that was a pretty nice, decent standing dropkick by Murdoch.
I don't even remember that.
Well, I'm saying it was not terrific, but for a 45-year-old, 300-pound man, it was pretty good. So, another thing that pissed me off about Funk too is he's calling Murdoch like he was his old tag team partner. He's calling him. He says he's an idiot, an absolute moron, but in a good way. But he tries to. I don't get it. So, I mean, it's just a bad match all around. End of the match is when Dark Patriot 2 is power slamming him outside the inn, and Murdoch just rolls through and gets the 3 count. Yeah, I don't really have any comments on this match. It was terrible. Didn't enjoy it. No. Don't really know Dick Murdoch before my time.
It was just a filler.
This was like
match.
The piss and beer. Go get a piss and a beer.
Need to refill my nachos match,
Yeah, I don't even understand. They have like Terry Funk. They have Snooko. Why do they need Murdoch? all these wrestlers call him. They want to work for him. He's not going out finding these people. These people are coming to him. WWF, I mean, they weren't geared for him. WWF and WCW were in that childish gimmick, crazy
Hairband
stage.
stage. Yeah.
So Dick Murdoch wouldn't fit in there. So, a lot of these old wrestlers, they're trying to find work, and so they'd go to independent promoters. And
It's not like it is now where these guys can work for 3 years, make a boatload of money,
yeah, exactly.
retire. Like he had to work. He needed income.
You can't retire. There's no pension plan.
Right? Yeah.
All right. So match 7. This is the 6-man tag team challenge. Wildman Paloma, Super Destroyer 1, and Stevie Wonderful versus the Suicide Blondes, Hotbody and Michaels, and Hunter Q. Robbins III. This match is a mess.
A lot going on.
I'll have to clear it up. But first, give you a little introduction to everyone. Johnny Hotbody, as I said earlier, he's another TWA leftover. He was brought into Todd Gordon's ECW. He was a former ECW champion. He defeated Snuka for the title. He was also the very first TV champion. And actually, at this time, he is the current tag team champion. So this makes him the legitimate first Triple Crown winner in ECW, despite what anyone else said. There's Chris Michaels. Don't really know much about him. He actually is going by Sir Richard Michaels now, as they said they went to England and got knighted, which is a pretty funny spot. The best, though, is Johnny Hotbody being in the Suicide Blondes because he's got jet black hair. It's just awesome. It's so funny. And the way he's introduced is he's like from anywhere but Philadelphia, which is hilarious. And then he weighs 300 pounds.
And he does not.
Yeah, including his ego. So, he's just a great gimmick. Yeah. Richard Michaels, he's a former WWF jobber. He was brought in to give the Suicide Blondes a third member, I think because they knew Candido was leaving. While he was there, they did utilize the Freebird rule, which if no one's familiar with the Freebird rule, it's anyone with, like any tag team with more than 2 people can defend it. The Demolition did it in the WWF, the Spirit Squad. And then Hunter Q. Robbins III, he's a pretentious, rich, black man. I think, like, his gimmick, from what I'm thinking is it was a little too ahead of its time. The pompous asshole,
like
gimmick on a black guy was just ahead of its time. He was good at it. I thought he was pretty funny. Got over his men really well, and he was pretty good on the mic. I don't really know much else about him. So. On the face side, I got Sal Baloma. I kind of told you a little bit about him earlier. Former WWF jobber. He was like a clean-cut baby face, but here he's got the Roman gladiator, hairy wolf thing going on. And also, he has a major love for pizza. Which who doesn't? Super Destroyer 1, he's AJ Petruzzi. This guy under the mask. Just another jobber from the WWF, 1980s. And then Stevie Wonderful, he was behind the scenes, like tech man for TWA. He was one of the helped Gordon come up with the idea for ECW. He was a color commentator, which eventually he was taken off. Didn't like him, said he sucked, which he did. I don't know what the hell he's doing in this match at all. My only guess is that they had nobody else.
No one else.
Looks like that, I don't know what happened to Super Destroyer number 2. He wasn't there. Some people said he was the Dark Patriot 2, but as I just said, Gordon said that was bullshit. So, who knows where he was. And I'm guessing he was the last person in the locker room. So, the only other thing I could think of is he also looks like the lead singer of the Spin Doctors.
He does, yeah.
So, how this match came about was Hunter Q. Robbins originally managed the Super Destroyers. They were a heel tag team, first tag team champions. Held the belts for almost 2 years. The Suicide Blondes, eventually they debuted in ECW. There was Chris Candido, Johnny Hotbody. Hunter Q took a vested interest. The Suicide Blondes eventually won the belts from Stetson and Winters, who had won them previously from the Super Destroyers. So Hunter Q started coming out with the Suicide Blondes until the Super Destroyers came out. They were not happy about this. Needless to say, they didn't want to share their manager, so they fired Hunter Q and turned face in the process. So meanwhile, while all this was happening, Sal Baloma was coming out as a face under a Super Destroyer hood, calling himself Super Destroyer number 3, which eventually the Super Destroyers would beat him up. But this was when the Super Destroyers were heel, and Bellomo was a face.
I need a flowchart.
Yeah. The Super Destroyers eventually turned face. They were getting into some rumblings with the Suicide Blondes because there was 3 of them. Sal Bellomo came out to help them to even the odds, so to speak, even though the Super Destroyers are 2 times the size of the... All this happened, Sal Bellomo proposed that the 2 Super Destroyers and he take on the 3 Suicide Blondes and Hunter Q. So this match was actually advertised all the way up until the show as a 3-on-4 handicap match, which did not end up taking place. So a complete booking mess, dude. Which is a shame because this had a lot of effort put into it.
Yeah.
It took up a lot of TV time, There was a lot of
story.
Yeah, and it just fell apart because one of the Super Destroyers didn't show up. Chris Candido was gone from the promotion, so this is a complete mess. This all took place within 3 months. This booking,
and really that kind of also the match exemplified that whole story. It was just kind of a mess.
Yeah.
There was no cohesion with teams. They didn't know what was going on.
It looked like a bunch of people standing in line for the telly.
The ring work was kind of shabby because you could tell they hadn't worked together at all. Not even some aggressive holds, a lot of being held in the corner and just pummeling people.
Triple teaming.
It was. You could tell it was a match thrown together.
Yeah.
And now hearing that backstory, I kind of understand it now.
Yeah. So the match starts, and you can see there's no Chris Candido, like I said, left for the Smoky Mountain. Jay Sully puts over that he actually had his arm broken. They couldn't say he was gone from the promotion because he was still in TV tapings of following the show. So he had already left the promotion. They had to play it off as
we still had footage of the
show. Correct. I don't know where Super Destroyer number 2 was. I don't know if he just no-showed, but they do kind of mention that they don't see him. And like I said, Stevie Wonderful in the match, only because he was probably the last person left. He's the sound guy, which is funny that he looks like the lead singer.
He might be the lead singer.
He's got a vast knowledge of singing.
And doctorate.
And spinning. So heels come out first. No Candido. Super D, 1, and Bellomo come out. And then they announce their special secret partner, which is Stevie Wonderful, which is not a secret. Or I guess it's a secret. It's not special. The thing I did notice was that Sal Bellomo had his hair up in a ponytail. You could actually see his face. Weird. Looked like a pineapple. Funny thing is, though, about Stevie is he comes out on the face team, although he was a heel commentator.
Right, he's a heel commentator. Again, just a mess.
Yeah, so you're like, what do they call that? Slapdash? How do you say that? Slapdash?
I have no idea.
You don't know? Okay,
I'm not familiar with that term.
Alright, so the main point for me in this match was Jay Sully introduced his color commentator for this match, and it was Joey Styles as a heel.
He's here. He's here, folks.
Also, I noticed Hunter Q sporting a tuxedo unitard. What are your thoughts on that?
And a riding crop or putter.
That's a cane. That's not a riding crop.
I don't know what it was.
A putter. Oh my god, dude! If you're a pretentious rich person, you should have a riding crop.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
it's mandatory. It's just funny listening to Styles. He insults the Philly fans or whatever, which he would come to be their biggest supporter,
right? Yeah.
Eventually, so it's kind of funny seeing that. Big funny spot on that is Sal Bellomo actually takes that Richard Michaels' hand and tries to tag in Hunter Q Rollins, as Michaels is dazed or whatever. Hunter Q jumps off the mat. That was a pretty funny spot. What I did notice in this match is it was all Richard Michaels. Johnny Hotbody barely got in, and Hunter Q I don't think got in at all. So Super D, number 1. He had a nice power slam on Michaels. Pins him, but pulls him up before the 3. That's not very face-like.
Don't see that a lot.
face interference in the TV title tournament. Face doing heel tactics. Yeah.
Lines are being blurred.
Yeah.
If you're halfway between a heel and a face, does that make you a crotch?
I would feel like it'd be more like the taint.
Yep.
Okay. Super D, he hits a pretty nice reverse DDT. Styles calls it a reverse bulldog. It's alright. Jay Sully is absolutely clueless as to what that move is.
He has no idea.
He barely doesn't know what a punch to the face is, let alone a right hand, or let alone that. So, Hot Buddy finally gets in. He hits a nice slingshot to the bottom rope. One of my favorite moves.
He's not in for very long.
No. After that, Belomo and Michaels get back in, and Beloma ends up pinning Michaels after the Pizza Splash, which is the real name of his finisher. The Pizza Splash.
Oh, pizza.
Would that be your finisher?
No, we just eat pizza.
That would be, you would get pinned as you're
eating pizza. Yeah. The thing about this match is, like I said, it was kind of like all over the place. There was no plan in place. It was a mess, but it was my favorite match of the card. And I don't know why. Doesn't make any sense. I think it's because you just saw some different styles of wrestling in there. You know, there was a little shtick involved, but it was just a huge mess. There were just people everywhere, but I enjoyed the match.
It was bedlam.
Yeah.
Another funny point at the end of the match was Sully thanks Styles for joining him and looks forward to working with him in the future. Which is just funny because Styles would end up just replacing
him, right?
Match 8, main event.
Main event.
It was a Texas chain match massacre. Terry Funk versus Eddie Gilbert. First off, Eddie Gilbert, he was a mainstay in the U.S. territory system, most notably in like Alabama, Memphis, the southern wrestling areas. He did wrestle a match or two in TWA for Joel Goodhart versus Cactus Jack, which I guess was like their highest selling show. They did like a cage match followed by a stretcher match followed by a different match, so way ahead of its time. Very bloody brawl. Wrestled in Memphis with Jerry Lawler, and in a very infamous spot, he hit Jerry Lawler with his car. This was back way before the internet and everything. Fans were calling the police left and right, I guess, reporting that they saw like a hit and run on TV. So Jerry Lawler actually had to come back on TV and state that he was like still okay and still alive. Which I wish wrestling was still alive. So at this point in ECW, Eddie Gilbert was pretty much the head booker, working with Todd Gordon, putting all the cards together, which is why he's like the top heel with all the big names. He reformed his Hot Stuff International stable, which he had in the territory system, this time with Jimmy Snuka, Don Morocco, and most recently Paul E. as his like assistant and financial backer. No, do you know why they call Paul E. Dangerously Paul E. Dangerously? I do not. They say he looks like, is it Michael Dangerously? What did Michael Keaton? No, Michael Keaton.
Johnny Dangerously.
Johnny Dangerously. Yeah, he looked like Johnny Dangerously. A lot like him.
I can see that.
Yeah, so they started calling him Paul E. Dangerously. So, Terry Funk, don't really need to say much about him. He has held a plethora of championships over the years. Yeah, at this point, it was 20 plus years. He's one of the original wrestlers bringing hardcore style to America, known the world over as a hardcore legend, and definitely one of the founding fathers in the hardcore wrestling scene. So this match stems from January, where before ECW had a TV show, but they did a co-promotion with the World Wrestling Association, which was also another tri-state-based wrestling organization. It was called Battle of the Belts. Funk beat Gilbert in an I Quit match. The feud continued as they came onto TV, with Gilbert stealing Funk's intros. They would say, the living legend, and Terry Funk was supposed to come out, but Eddie Gilbert would come out. Stuff like that, just regular heel shenanigans.
Just healing around.
just healing it up. The two actually never wrestled on TV. They were just kind of doing a lot of microphone banter, back and forth, brawling outside, chairs. So this is their first match. This is really how wrestling used to be, where you'd use your TV show to build up to your big match. The so-called pay-per-view, which this was just a big
card.
So they also had a couple funny vignettes they cut on each other. Eddie Gilbert does a pretty good impersonation of Terry Funk. So pretty funny.
You know, that's a mighty fine tractor right here out on a Double Cross Ranch. And whenever you're out here on a place like this or you're in a wrestling ring, you gotta have the proper equipment. And you gotta be prepared. Whenever you're ranching and farming, you gotta be a rancher and a farmer, and a darn good one. When you're in a wrestling ring, you gotta be a darn good wrestler. And when you're out here on this place like this, hey, you might be confronted with varmints, coyotes, coons, rattlesnakes, predators, perverts. Perverts? Well, it looks like one's headed this way. Howdy, partner. Do you realize that you are on private property? I know if you were a Texan that you would realize that you can't walk onto a man's property like you're doing right now. Where are you from, Sonny?
I'm Eddie Gilbert's brother from Tennessee, and I came to challenge you.
You came to challenge me. You are Hot Stuff's brother. What is your name?
Real Hot Stuff.
Oh, Real Hot Stuff. Well, have I got something for you? Oh! Monk and Gilbert in a chain match massacre. You gotta see it.
If you sweet, nice, innocent people of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, will please just excuse me a second, but I had to come outside just once again and go down into the woods as far as I could before I really felt low, felt so dirty, kind of like a redneck from Texas, the way that Terry Funk feels every day of his life when he gets up in Amarillo, Texas. Well, Terry Funk, you've come on this television, you've come on Sports Channel, and you've made fun of me. But this Saturday night, chump, I'm going to shut you and all the people of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania up. Because, see, the people of Philadelphia have long been waiting for a hero. They've gone out to the Phillies games just like me, and they've sat with their head down. I even went and bought a ball cap, hoping that they do good this year. They're the worst team in Phillies history. They can't even get a home run hitter. They can't get anyone, but maybe, just maybe, after Saturday night, they're going to sign up. Moi. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, the new king, the only king of Philadelphia. This Saturday night, I will be crowned officially the king of Philadelphia after I beat you, you has-been, washed up, no good for nothing, Terry Funk, because I'm going to take you from corner to corner, pillar to post at the ECW Arena Saturday night, brother, and no one, not even your mama, is going to recognize you with all that blood covering your body. So people in Philadelphia, when it is over with, bow down to your new king of Philadelphia this Saturday night.
This match, like, the first thing I noticed is, and, you know, we commented on the size of the ring in this venue, the chain used in this match is bigger than the ring. So you lose some of, like, the close quarter brawling that you sometimes see in a chain match because you could be anywhere in the ring and still have slack on the chain.
You had to have slack.
Yeah. I think, you know, as the match went on, you saw each wrestler use the chain more to their advantage, wrapping around their fist, striking blows, which, you know, looks and is pretty violent. But, like, I just, like, for the get-go, it was just funny. Like, they come out of the corner, they chain them together, and then they're able to go back to their corners and like
get out of the ring.
Get out of the ring. Go use the bathroom.
Get some nachos. Alright, so first off, Gilbert comes out to the ring. He's wearing a belt, which I think he actually came from the Global Wrestling Federation, where he actually stole the title and took it with him. So I think that's what he was wearing. Jay Sully, thank God, is joined on commentary by Todd Gordon, who's alright on commentary. Todd Gordon does state that he will have to crown the winner. The King of
Philadelphia.
The premise of this match, or the point of this match, is each wrestler is attached at opposite ends of the chain, and then they have to hit all four corners consecutively to win the match. There's a lot of stalling prior to even getting the chains on. I'm talking like 7 minutes.
Stalling, you see some like tension going back and forth. Like it reminds me of like when they're doing the weigh-ins at boxing matches now, and they're just like up into their faces, but
taunting,
but for a really long time.
So then they put the chains on, and there is about another 7 minutes of stalling. Right. So this is like a 17-minute match, and there's about 14 minutes of stalling. Right. So they obviously start off with the way every strap or chain match starts off, with a little tug of war.
Tug of war.
As you said, there's some face wrapping, fist wrapping, and punching. Funk has a nice like hanging spot. Hangs him over his back, trying to murder him live on television. Yeah, live on tape.
A little bit of chain choking, and then some chain whipping later on in the match, which they could do easily because of the hugely long chain.
Each wrestler trades about 4 or 5 times touching the 3 corners and then not being able to make the 4th.
Right. And then the shenanigans occur.
Yeah, there's the typical, like, pull the chain between my legs so I hit myself in the balls.
The old nutties.
Big chain punch, like a chain fist punch from Gilbert the Funk, really opens him up. You can see him bleeding pretty bad, which is nice. Funk returns the favor and opens up Gilbert, who just completely gushes blood, which is awesome, dude. Both men bleeding profusely all over each other. They actually make it all the way back to the entrance. Somehow they both make it out, about 2 to 3 minutes hanging out at the entrance.
Crowd. Yep.
Which you can't see any of it because they're on a stationary hard camera.
Yep.
They do make it back into the ring, which eventually John Finnegan gets hit with the chain, so ref bump in a chain match. It's like the 3rd or 4th one of the night.
Right.
John Finnegan, he's escorted to the back, and Kevin Christian takes over. Todd Gordon really puts him over as the new guy who really knows what's going on.
He's going to take control of this match. There will be no more shenanigans.
Yeah, so shenanigans are done for the evening. So finally, Funk makes it all 4, but prior to touching the 4th one, Paul E. gets up on the apron distracting the ref, which is honestly the first time Paul E.
does anything.
Yeah, in the match, so it was kind of surprising. And while Funk argues with the ref, Gilbert attacks him from behind, pile drives him on a chair, which is awesome. Gilbert, bloody as hell, drags Funk around, touches all 4 corners, and wins the match.
They bring the crown in.
Well, Paulie comes in first. He gets on the mic. You can't fucking understand anything he says. The audio is terrible. The only thing I got out of it is that he says the ref is actually Eddie Gilbert's brother, Freddie Gilbert.
So the non-shenanigan allowing ref in itself
was a shenanigan. So I don't understand anything else he says. So Todd Gordon comes to the ring. Can't understand anything he says. The only thing I get out of it is that he tells him he's fired. As he's doing this, or after he tells him he's fired, Todd Gordon then shoves him. Proceeds to just shove him. Paulie comes up from behind and cracks him in the head with the cell phone, knocking him out. I guess Todd Gordon said he really hit him pretty hard with that. So. At this point, Funk eventually gets to his feet, chases everyone out of the ring. Eddie hightails it out, leaves his crown in the ring. Funk takes the crown and puts it on Todd Gordon's head. Funk does get on the mic and says something, but
you can't hear it.
So I did like this match. I thought it was decent. The crappy video quality really hurts it, though. Like, hurts the watchability. You can definitely tell both men are bleeding, but if in this high def world, that would have been great.
And I think what the worst part is when they did go out into the crowd and out towards the entrance, like you just couldn't see what was happening. Yeah. And I feel like there was a lot of cool stuff happening out there.
Well, you grabbed like the step stools or whatever,
right, but you just couldn't see anything. It's so fortunate.
The terrible audio and video just ruined it. I think overall, not a good show. Wouldn't recommend it. Wouldn't recommend you buy it. Maybe you can catch it on YouTube. The commentary was mostly terrible. Joey Styles was alright. The in-ring action was mostly terrible. I did like the brawl.
A lot of washed up wrestlers and some guys that later on we'll see that become something. But
well, this is
just not there.
The
yet.
early '90s. I feel like they were transitioning,
Right?
Like Caitlyn Jenner.
Caitlyn Jenner.
The main event was okay. Of course, as always, tits are nice. So, yeah, the audio and video quality did suck, but it was 1993, so a lot of these tapes that you get on the tape trading circuit, everything there,
copied 7 or 8 times.
Yeah, so it really suffers.
And the other thing we got to remember is we're watching this through a 2017 lens.
That's true.
Think back to 1993, someone watching this for the first time had never seen any of this, so it was probably much more insane in terms of the shenanigans and hijinks and what's happening than we think now, because we've seen it, we've exposed and seen this 1,000 times now.
But it is refreshing to see compared to what I've seen from the WWE lately. So
for sure,
since they have like no blood policies and
it's all regurgitated plot lines.
Yeah, and it's just terrible. Although the people are definitely way more athletic. Yeah, there is a lot of people with charisma as opposed to these bland baby faces they have now that just suck ass on microphone. The typical, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna rip your hair out. Be senseless. Definitely need some work on the stick.
For sure.
But in time will tell with this promotion. We'll see how they do. Can't wait to see. So, big thing for me that I thought was bullshit was, where was the heavyweight champion? Don Morocco.
No,
there was no heavyweight title defense, not even on the card, not even mentioned, I don't think. So that's the whole reason you have the heavyweight belt, that's the whole reason people are fighting for the most part, at least in singles competition. You can't even use that to promote your company. So
you gotta have him on the bill.
Yeah,
you need to be on the card somewhere.
Another thing, tag champs, they were there, but the title wasn't on the line. So there was only that. I'm wondering if maybe that's why they had Jimmy Snuka 2 title defenses. No other title being
defended. They needed to have a belt.
A lot of no shows. Super Destroyer 2, Chris Candido. Well, apparently Dark Patriot, but apparently he was there. But I mean, I guess that's the problem with independent shows. You're booking as opposed to a weekly television show, month or bi-monthly basis. So people say they'll be there, and then by the time that time comes, they're no longer.
Oh, I can get paid more over here.
Yeah, exactly. A couple notes I had that I found out. If you watch the weekly TV show, they started advertising the matches before they actually, the plot line or storyline unfolded. So you're like, what the hell? You're watching this and it's showing...
Why are these guys going to play?
Yeah, exactly. That 4-on-3 match, they were promoting it before the Super Destroyers turned on Hunter Q and and before he even started managing the Suicide Blondes. They were promoting that Richard Michaels, which he didn't even debut yet. And then they were promoting the Stetson versus Winners match, which they were still tag team partners at the time. So.
Just a lot of growing pains. How they're just every facet of the business.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking doing that. I don't understand it. So another Jay Sully, absolutely terrible. Terry Funk, honestly, was pretty terrible on commentary as well. I have Stevie Wonderful looks like the lead singer of the Spin Doctors. We covered that. The in-ring action, for the most part, is pretty terrible.
It's pretty bad.
My man of the night is Tommy Cairo.
I agree.
The ring is too small.
The ring's way too small.
I don't know if they got that at Dick's. Where they played again sports.
5x8 Fisher Price wrestling ring.
You would be a giant.
I would, yeah.
The audio and video quality, absolutely terrible. Can't even understand anything on the house mic, which kind of killed it because it's kind of the culmination of feuds and
no idea what's happening.
Just assuming things. Although if you do start watching it at the beginning of the TV show to now, you can really see the fan base starting to pick up as they go on. They went from about tens of fans to hundreds of fans. So they also switched from the Cabrini College, where they first started taping TV shows, which could only fit like 50 people, to the Field House, where the ECW Arena, which could seat, I think, max at 800, but they would eventually fit up to they could fit 1,500 people in there, like standing room, sweat box, like a sex club. Any other final thoughts?
Can't wait for the next one.
Do you know what the next one is? I do not. Next one will be Ultra Clash 93, which takes place in September. Join us next time as we reopen the Extreme Wrestling Archive.
Voila! In view, a humble vaudevillian veteran, cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate. This visage, no mere veneer of vanity, is a vestige of the vox populi, now vacant, vanished. However, this valorous visitation of a bygone vexation stands vivified, and has vowed to vanquish these venal and virulent vermin, vanguarding vice and vouchsafing the violently vicious and voracious violation of volition. The only verdict is vengeance, a vendetta, held as a votive not in vain, for the value and veracity of such shall one day vindicate the vigilant and the virtuous. Verily, this vichyssoise of verbiage veers most verbose, so let me simply add that it's my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me V.
Just go ahead now. One has diamonds in his pockets, and that's a breath now. This one said he wants to buy you rockets, ain't in his head now. This one got a princely racket, that's what I said now. Got some big seal up on his jacket, ain't in his head now. You remember father will condone you. How about that now? You marry me, your father will disown you. He'll eat his head now. Marry him or marry me. I'm the one that left him, baby, can't you see? I ain't got no bitch or family tree, but I know what a prince and lover ought to be. I know what a prince and lover ought to be. Said if you want to call me baby, just go ahead now. And if you like to tell me baby, just go ahead now. And if you wanna buy me flowers, just go ahead now. And if you like to talk for hours, just go ahead now. That's what I said now. Princes who adore you, just go ahead now. One has diamonds in his pockets, and that's a friend now. This one who wants to buy you rockets, ain't in his head now. Marry him or marry me, I'm the one that love you, but can't you see? I ain't got no bitch or family tree, but I know what a prince and lover ought to be. I know what a prince and lover ought to be. Call me baby, just go ahead now. And if you like to tell me maybe, just go ahead now. And if you wonder about me flowers, just go ahead now. And if you like to talk for hours, just go ahead.